Thank you. Senator Kennedy.
Doctor, you don't look like Satan to me.
I hope not.
Some of my colleagues have accused you of everything but abandoning your children to wolves. Do you hate medical research?
Welcome back to the Constitution Corner, the channel where truth, liberty, and the Constitution are still respected. If you're tired of the corruption, the waste, and the radical nonsense infecting our government agencies, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a dose of good old-fashioned common sense.
I've devoted my life to medical research, Senator.
Do you hate the NIH?
I love the NIH. I think I said that in my Senate hearing, my earlier Senate hearing. I think it's the most important biomedical institution in the world.
This budget that we're debating today is the president's budget. When's the last time Congress took a president's budget and enacted it?
You know, the funny thing is, I've gotten to thanks to this process, I've got to talk with all of y'all.
When's the last time that happened?
I can't remember.
It's never happened in the history of ever happened.
I mean, everyone has strong opinions about what should happen, and Congress gets to have a say, and that's a good thing.
There's some changes that need to be made at the NIH, aren't there?
There are.
Okay. If I'm the president of a university, and I came to you at NIH and said, I need $10 million to research a cure for nephritis. And I took that $10 million and spent $5 million of it renovating the vice provost home. That would be morally repugnant, wouldn't it? It would. If I were a college president and I came to NIH and asked for $20 million to research a cure for dementia, and I took $5 million of that and used it to buy a yacht for my university, that would be morally repugnant, wouldn't it?
That would, and no, that's not.
And that's happened before, hasn't it?
That's not hypothetical, alas.
And there's been a lot of talk about the difference between direct costs, spending the money, for example, on researching cures for nephritis, and indirect costs, overhead. Harvard, for example, with a $53 billion endowment, spends 69% of its money from NIH on overhead, does it not?
I haven't looked at the latest numbers, but it's definitely in that range.
Yale spends 67.5% on overhead, does it not?
Again, roughly in that range, yes.
So all this money spent on overhead is money that's not being spent on medical research, is that right?
Well, it's for fixed costs of like lab space and things, but also sometimes for other things. So it's some of it's absolutely necessary.
Well, if I'm the Gates Foundation and I came to the NIH and said, I don't want money, I want to give you money. I want to give you $100 billion.
Yeah. But
you can't spend more than 10% on overhead. Would the NIH turn it down?
I wouldn't turn it down, no. In fact, I think that Gates Foundation overhead rates are roughly, again, in that range, 10 to 15%.
The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation limits overhead to 15%, does it not?
That's what I understand, something like that.
Now, I want you to think in terms of the American people and the importance of medical research. What do you think is more important? And we have finite resources. Okay, and I support giving resources to NIH. I think NIH does breathtakingly innovative work. But if you ask American people, would you rather give money to research cerebrovascular disease, or would you rather give $142,000 to the Seattle Children's Hospital to study how to use telehealth to improve access to gender-affirming care? What do you think the American people would say?
Senator, the NIH should be a non-political organization, non-ideological, addressing the health needs of the American people.
But yet, the NIH also spent $120,000 in a grant to, quote, develop 3D avatars that help people work through gender dysphoria, end quote. Did it not?
It did.
And the NIH also spent $2,368,492, gave it to Brown University to study, quote, improving mental health among the LGBTQ community impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Did it not?
I think it did. Although I have to say that we
Do you
should...
think that's more important than studying chronic lower respiratory disease?
I mean, I think we should address the real health needs of Americans, not divide Americans into we have to take into account the real differences in in the biology of people. But when we do that, we should do it in a way that really addresses their actual health needs. Not
I'm running out of time. What we have to do is spend the money on research.
We should. Absolutely.
It's real simple.
I agree with you, Senator, 100%.
And some universities aren't, NIH is not calling them on it. Isn't it a fact that a study showed between 2017 and 2019, auditors found 137 critical trials funded with taxpayer money involving 41,000 kids, and they didn't even report the results? What happened to the money?
Senator, I think that researchers we support have an obligation to share their data publicly with the American people, no matter what the result.
Otherwise, it's wasted.
Yeah, agree.
All you want to do is fix NIH, don't you?
I do. I want to fix all those problems, Senator.
Thank you.
Now, folks, today we're diving into one of the most revealing exchanges on Capitol Hill. Senator John Kennedy grilling a top NIH official about wasteful government spending, leftist ideology and research funding, and the absolute circus our medical institutions have become. What you're about to hear is both shocking and infuriating. Senator Kennedy, in his classic Southern wit and fearless questioning, laid it all out. He didn't call names. He didn't shout. But he exposed a reality so many of us have been screaming about for years. Our tax dollars are being funneled into woke social experiments while actual life-saving research is left in the dust. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. The NIH gave $142,000 to Seattle Children's Hospital to explore telehealth options for gender-affirming care. Let me ask you, what happened to cancer research? What happened to Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart disease? We have veterans suffering, seniors on fixed incomes needing better medical options, and what does the NIH focus on? 3D avatars for gender dysphoria. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. And let's talk numbers. According to the NIH, some of the most elite universities in America, Harvard and Yale, are taking over 2/3 of their grant money for overhead. That means it's going to things like lavish salaries, administrative costs, and buildings, not the research it was intended for. When Senator Kennedy pressed the NIH official, even he admitted that if the Gates Foundation gave $100 billion and capped overhead at 10%, the NIH wouldn't dare say no. So why do they let universities milk the system at nearly 70% overhead? Here's the truth, it's a massive slush fund. Our government is handing out money with zero accountability, and instead of medical breakthroughs, we're funding social justice programs under the guise of science. Let's not forget the most damning revelation in this hearing. Between 2017 and 2019, over 130 taxpayer-funded clinical trials involving 41,000 children never even reported results. That's not just a bureaucratic hiccup, that's a betrayal. These are children. This is taxpayer money. And this is your government. And here's the kicker. When Senator Kennedy asked if it would be morally repugnant for a university to take research funds and buy a yacht or renovate a house, the NIH official agreed. Because it has happened. Not hypothetically. Not in theory. In real life. With your money. This is the deep rot in our system. This is why Americans no longer trust our institutions. It's not because of conspiracy theories, it's because of corruption, plain and simple. We've allowed unelected bureaucrats and leftist academics to turn federal funding into their own political and cultural sandbox, and meanwhile, the average American is suffering. You see, when conservatives talk about draining the swamp, this is what we mean. We're not against science. We're not against research. We're against corruption. We're against the NIH becoming a political playground instead of a life-saving institution. So what can we do about it? First, we need oversight. Second, we need transparency. And third, we need a culture change. We need leaders who will stand up and say no more. No more woke spending, no more gender ideology projects, no more hiding behind the lab coat while robbing the American taxpayer. Senator Kennedy was right to ask these questions. And we, the American people, have every right to demand answers. So if you're fed up with the insanity, if you believe our government needs a serious reality check, then I urge you, speak up. Call your representatives. Demand reform. And most importantly, keep watching, subscribing, and sharing channels like this one. Because here at the Constitution Corner, we're not backing down. We are the Constitution Corner, where Americans' root guides its future. Until next time, stand strong, speak truth, and may God bless the United States of America.